Hello and welcome to Pints and Quarts, the show presented by Craft Beer Nation. Today is April 16th, 2015, and our guest this week is Jeremy Danner. Jeremy is the Ambassador Brewer at Boulevard Brewing. Our show tonight is sponsored by the fine folks over at craftbeveragejobs.com. Check them out for jobs in the beer, wine, and coffee industries. If you're looking for any gig in the craft business, get on over to their site and register your resume. In the meantime, we want you to stick around for our conversation with Jeremy, so get your beer in a glass and get comfortable. In fact, while the music's playing, this would be a perfect time to click subscribe on our YouTube, Stitcher, or iTunes channels.
Time now for a look back at the last week in the craft beer industry. Pour a cold one and sit back for an all-new episode of Pints and Quarts, presented by Craft Beer Nation.
Well, all right. We are a small group again this week. We've got Randy Gardner Jr., Gil Mello, Charles Dunkley, myself, Matt Miller. I do believe a couple others will be joining us here momentarily. A couple of them were logged in and logged out. The guest of honor, the man of the hour this week is Jeremy Danner from Boulevard Brewing. He is listed on his signature of his email, at least, as the Ambassador Brewer. Sure if that's a political distinction or what kind of... How did you come about to being the Ambassador Brewer?
Yeah, I started at Boulevard back in '08 as a full-time brewer, and as sales guys and people have events and they have tastings. People want to meet somebody that makes the beer. They want to have a brewer come out. So I spent about 2 or 3 years kind of developing into this role where I would go out and talk to people and eat dinner with people basically and drink and eat for money and do a lot of traveling. I was lucky enough that they gave me the opportunity to kind of turn it into a full-time job. So starting at the beginning of 2013, I became the Ambassador Brewer. And part of that means I do our social media. I also am kind of involved with recipe formulation. And because of all the travel, I get to see what's happening in a lot of different beer scenes around the country and try to bring back that information to kind of help us be informed on what's happening and what sorts of beers we should make and kind of what's going on.
So you're a spy. Your ambassador duties include spying.
Yes, absolutely, yeah. I'm a dirty spy, yeah.
Beer espionage.
You started with Boulevard in '08. So many of the people who interview say, I got my first job because I knocked on their door and I didn't walk away until they hired me. How did you actually get into it? Did you come from a background of homebrewing or?
I never homebrewed. I made my first batch of beer professionally in '06 at a brew pub that's in my neighborhood. I was a bartender and a server there, and one day one of the head brewers left, and they needed somebody that didn't know how hard of a job with low pay it was, and I was just excited to get involved. So I made my first batch of beer in '06. It was 7 barrels, and I've never made anything smaller than that.
Yeah, here's a low-paying, thankless opportunity, Jeremy. You're our man.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's exactly. I had no idea the first week. I called my dad, and he's like, "How's it going?" And I'm like, "This really sucks." Like I didn't realize like you're making beer, but I'm like, this is a terrible job, really. But you get used to it, and you realize that you're making beer, and that's kind of how you talk yourself into doing it every day.
You know what? I gotta tell you, like one of the joys that I get out of home brewing is that I actually get to make a product that my friends not only drink but they enjoy. So and from your perspective, you said you told your dad this job sucks, but you got to a point where you're like, wow, people actually appreciate what I do. That had to have been really fulfilling, right?
I mean, especially in a brew pub, the brew house is in the middle of the restaurant, so you can see people sitting at the bar, drinking the beer that you made a couple weeks ago, and you walk by and they give you a nod to say, hey man, this is good, and I think that kind of makes it all worth it.
That's awesome.
And then when your paycheck gets cashed at the end of the week, that helps.
No, I mean it's funny. We always say, we do it if we could afford to do it for free, we would, but we're all lying when we say that. We absolutely need to get paid.
Yeah, I never believed anyone when they said that. So, hey, tell us a little bit about what Boulevard's got coming out here. Let's get into a little bit of that.
Sure. So the real big thing that just happened is we just released some cans. We've got some props here that I'm obviously not very good at holding up to not obscure the view, but they're on our website as well. So we released 4 cans, and then we released a new double IPA called The Calling. which is kind of, it took the place of a beer called Double Wide, which was kind of a really malty double IPA we first brewed back in late '07. And we liked that beer, but we realized that we weren't really making what people expected when they drink a double IPA, so we kind of retooled that beer completely and just came out with the calling about 2 months ago, and it's doing very well. We're super excited to see, how the beer is going to grow as we move forward. It's tough to know. It's early on right now.
Gil, you want to ask that question you asked earlier before we went on?
Well, I was just wondering, because Ommegang is making their first IPA, American-style IPA, and I know they're brewing into Boulevard, and I was wondering if that's going to be just an Ommegang beer using a Boulevard facility, which is kind of their sister brewery, or it's going to be a collab between the two breweries.
Yeah, before Jeremy answers, I'll set it up for our listeners that don't know. But Duvel actually purchased Boulevard a couple of years ago now.
The deal became official on January 1st of 2014.
2014, and then they just also purchased Ommegang. So now they're sister breweries, brother breweries under the Duvel the hat there. So, all right, Jeremy, go ahead.
Yeah, so we're kind of at the we have the ability with our brew house and the way our fermentation vessels are designed. We can handle brewing, heavily hop beers from the brew house, and then also we're set up better to dry hop. So we worked with Mike McManus, who's their innovation manager. He does a lot of very, very small 15-gallon test brews at Ommegang to kind of dial things in. He came down with their brewmaster, and we worked together to create this IPA called Nirvana. And I mean, it's being brewed in our facility, but I think it's very much an Ommegang beer. He came up with the concept of what he wanted the beer to be and kind of really nailed the intent, and we're just helping them make that beer. So I think it is a collaborative process, but it's very much an Ommegang beer.
I personally I'm very excited to try that because I don't think I've had an Ommegang beer that their Belgian yeast wasn't pitched.
Right? Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
I actually haven't had it myself. It's kind of funny. It's being brewed in Kansas City, but it's only available in New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut, I believe. So very much a close to home beer for those guys. Kind of a cool deal.
Are you guys blending anything together since you're such a different breweries? Although under the same umbrella, but you're such a different breweries. You guys planning anything in the future together?
Well, I mean, we brewed collaboration number 4, which I think someone has right now, right?
That would be me.
Randy.
Yeah, so we brewed a saison that kind of married our idea of a saison and their idea of a saison, and blended a couple batches of beer together that were released last fall. That we really don't have anything else, collaboratively planned yet. Just trying to figure out how this whole thing works with us being, kind of part of the family and being able to help each other out. It's really about exploring kind of the technical opportunities we have as well as raw materials and distribution logistics. It's very exciting.
I'll say this is one, we speak about acquisitions and takeovers and buyouts or whatever almost seemingly weekly on the show, but this is one of those buyouts that I felt like it's acceptable because, first of all, everybody respects Duvel. I mean, they
Sure.
make great beer, you know what I mean? And if you like any American brewed beer with Belgian yeast, you have to respect Ommegang, right? And just Boulevard, you guys, I mean, I honestly, not to blow any wind, but I haven't had a bad beer from Boulevard yet since I've been drinking craft beer. And this is one of those acquisitions that I felt was okay because I kind of saw it as craft beer buying craft beer. Was there ever any kind of dissension within the ranks that you could tell between the from the people who work there at Boulevard? Did anybody kind of feel like we're selling out, or was it like a welcome thing because they were being bought by a reputable, legitimate Belgian brewery?
I mean, I think we first learned that John was interested in kind of a succession plan or looking at selling the brewery probably in late spring, early summer of 2013. And at that time, it really surprised us because he hadn't talked about it at all with anyone at the brewery. So when that initially came down, we were kind of concerned. That's a scary thing because as anybody who works at a place they love, it becomes a part of you. When I meet people, I'm Jeremy from Boulevard. That's very much a part of who I am. Later on down the road, when we learned it was going to be Duvel Mortgad, we were so excited and relieved. And that's not marketing BS or a lie. I mean, like you said, Duvel is they're kind of old school craft beer before we had the term craft beer, is the way I look at it. So when the deal became final on January 1st, 2014, I opened a bottle of Saison Brett, which I think is the best beer we brew to celebrate the new year, but also to celebrate that I worked for Duvel. It was a really cool moment for me.
Amazing beer.
I mean, there was a little bit of freak out in the community just because Kansas City is, the identity is so tied in with Boulevard, and a lot of people are so proud of us. But as we've kind of moved on and we've shown them that everything's cool and nothing's changing, it's almost like it never happened. My day-to-day hasn't changed one bit, and I sometimes forget,
Are you guys planning anything new for your smokestack series? Yeah, because there's one thing that makes me happy is going in a bottle shop and see one of your big cork bottles on the shelf. It's just like I'm a little kid in a candy store.
Yeah, that Imperial Stout is hard to walk past.
Yeah, we've got the Imperial Stout X Series, where we're taking our Imperial Stout and using that as a base beer to play around with. So we have you have the coffee right there. Yesterday we bottled a version that we're calling Aztec Chocolate that has it's got some chilies and some chocolate and some cinnamon. So we're trying to kind of show what we can do with the same base beer in a different way each time to kind of showcase different flavors and also kind of as a way for us to play around.
Let me ask you this. So the beer. So I'm drinking the collaboration number 4, the Saison that you guys brew with Boulevard. I'm sorry, with Omegon. But the one that I really wanted to drink was the Calling, which is your recently released IPA. I like an idiot, I forgot to put it in the fridge, and so it's not cold right now. But can you talk a little bit about the Calling, because I know in the packaging you said that it's your most hopped up beer that you guys have ever made, right?
Yeah, we realized that we wanted to make. We've been talking about what we tentatively called a big dumb IPA. It's kind of what we talked about. Like, we want to make this beer that has very minimal malt and just ridiculous hops. So we had several brewers meetings where we tasted, kind of big gnarly double IPAs. And Stephen Powell's our brewmaster. He's Belgian. They don't drink a lot of super hoppy beers over there. So whenever we talk about IPAs, he's always like, well, you guys should make this beer. But obviously he has oversight. So we had to convince him, like the reason that some of these IPAs that we're tasting just jump out of the glass is because they're dry hopping, 2 to 3 times what we're doing. So we really kind of went after with this beer. It's a blend of 8 different hops. It's just our pale malt. It's kind of a really nice base for the hops to shine. Not a lot of caramel malt or any kind of caramely character leaping out. And we really want to make a beer that was like super fruity, super citrusy, and not that kind of piney resinous character that we had in Double Wide, which was a great beer. We just knew we wanted to go a totally different direction with this beer. So it's gone really well. I think people have said about Boulevard that we're afraid of hops because we do make really balanced beer, almost to a fault. But I think this beer completely erases any of that.
I don't. What's the market behind it? Calling mean? I haven't seen the bottle to know what you're going for there.
It looks old school, man. It's like a straight black and white label. When you see the bottle, you're like, oh, this is like old school. This is an old school beer bottle.
It's kind of cool. The whole idea, we talk about kind of the idea of the maker, or the kind of drawn to be this craftsman or whatever. And that's what John did when he started the brewery. But what we wanted to do was kind of express to people through the label and through the copy that this is the beer that we've kind of been known we needed to make, and we finally answered that calling by making this beer. It's kind of the beer of destiny, if you want to say it that way. That's pretty lofty, I know. Yeah.
The beer of destiny.
Yeah.
My density. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ashley Bauer, who doesn't look like she's going to make it here tonight for even much of the show at all, but she wanted to ask a question, so I'm going to relay this along to you. Wanted to know about the souring process and what do you do about keeping things separate when you use Brett in a beer? How do you keep that from getting into every dang thing else? Yeah,
we're very. I wouldn't say we're scared. We're very respectful of what Brettanomyces and lactobacillus can do. So. Saison Brett, for example, we inoculate that beer with Brettanomyces at a separate bottling facility. We don't ever put any Brett in our primary stainless in any of our cellars at the main brewery. And then all of our sour barrels are actually in caves, far, far away from the brewery. Not because we're afraid that they're going to like get on the highway and drive over, but just because we have some really nice caves about 20 minutes away. So we have one side of the cave that's clean beer, our bourbon barrel quad, imperial stout, rye and rye. And then we have another side that's a little bit warmer. That's all of our sour inoculated beer. Anytime we run a bottling run of the sour beer, the Brett beer, we take everything apart on the filler, get it as hot as we can. We have separate gaskets and separate hoses, and everything gets changed out. And then we're actually taking rinse water samples and putting those through equipment that can detect just one cell of a beer spoiler or Brettanomyces. So we're super cautious with that.
Sounds like a kind of a pain in the butt.
It is, yeah. I mean, when we do a sour run, we might do a couple weeks of running sour beer at the bottling facility, and then we're down for 3 weeks to a month to facilitate the cleanup that needs to happen afterwards.
I was trying to remember. Do you guys still have your original pilot brewing system there?
Yes,
right?
we have a 35 barrel brew house, and that's where we're doing a lot of our test brews or yeast propagation brews. Pretty much everything is coming from the 150 barrel brew house anymore, but we still brew on the 35 barrel brew house a couple times a week.
I bet a lot of breweries watching this thinking their pilot system's at 35.
I know, yeah. It's a whole lot of beer, yeah. I mean, it is a lot of beer, but it's not a lot of beer.
Well, I have a twofold question. What is your annual output, and are there plans in the future for expansion?
Definitely, yeah. I think this year we did just shy of 185,000 barrels in 2014. Right now we're in the process of building a new cellar we're calling Cellar 5 that'll hold 1,000 barrel fermentation tanks, and the goal of that upgrade is to take us up to near 300,000 barrels. Yeah, it's a lot of beer. If we were to run both brew houses 24/7, we could brew 600,000 barrels of beer, but fermentation is really our bottleneck right now.
We'd like to propose a renaming. We can call it Cellar CBN, if that's fine. Just an idea. Let me throw it out there.
We actually have one cellar that we did rename. We pulled 6 105 barrel tanks out of an old cellar. We raised the roof, and you have to do that just because there's no, we elevated the ceiling, though we raised the roof and dropped in 8. We dropped it. It got really old doing it in meetings. Every time somebody would say raise the roof, you see people in the back like can we just like we really need to talk about this. Can we move on from like what are we gonna do? So we raised the roof and dropped in 8 300 barrel tanks, and we refer to that as Cellar 1 Supreme, which is like with sour cream, I think is what Supreme means. But,
like a Baja Pesto.
Yeah, sour cream and tomatoes. That means something supreme.
Yeah. Then you can charge another $1.50 for it. Those bastards at Taco Bell.
Cellar CBN has a nice ring to it. That's all
I like that.
And if you haven't had the chance to visit the brewery is beautiful, and they even have a area like for events and stuff. The place is just awesome right there.
And Gil, I think you mentioned that they had one of the better brewery tours that you've ever experienced, right?
Yeah, it's on the Jess and I's top 2 best brewing tours that we've been. Yeah.
And you said they were popping open bottles of crazy stuff all the way through.
Never drunk and ate so much on a tour.
That's what we do, man. We drink and eat in Kansas City.
You're gonna make the Royals my American League team, man. Jeez.
Yeah. And they're starting out hot this year. Is that because you got beer at the stadium?
Boulevard's sponsors, right?
Yeah, we're the craft beer sponsor of the Royals, which is really cool. We have there's a bar behind home plate that I think has 8 of our beers on tap, and then there's a new bar in the stadium called Craft and Draft this year that I think has like 12 to 13 Boulevard beers on tap, which is nuts in a major league stadium. It's really cool.
Yeah.
So I know you guys just recently started distributing to New York City. Any plans to expand into the rest of New York State at all?
Definitely, yeah. I mean, what we're trying to do over the next few years, and to be honest, I don't get invited to fancy meetings where they talk about timelines, but I know the ultimate goal is to have Boulevard available in all the states that Duvel and Schoof and Omegang and Leafman's beers are. It's just a matter of us being able to keep up with production right now.
You heard it here, folks. Jeremy Danner of Boulevard says they're going to be in 50 states by the summer of 50. You're really not getting invited to those meetings now, Jeremy.
No.
And his Twitter is right there on the banner.
Yeah.
Well, you could say that's the reason you weren't in the meeting, so you're just making up stuff.
Yeah, I want to share good news, man.
Hey, Jeremy, I gotta tell you, man. We mentioned before the show started that I was making
Randy
a mess.
fell from the chair.
I'm drinking your the saison, the collaboration number 4 with Ommegang, and honestly, I admit saisons aren't my favorite style, but this beer is really good, man. I don't know if I honestly, I think it's the fact that it's not like a straight up like Belgian yeast strain. I like Belgian yeast, but I like Belgian yeast in like dark, hearty Belgian beers, not so much in the light Belgian beers. But the fact that this beer was a combination of both of your yeasts, I think that the Boulevard yeast played really well with taking some of the edge off of the Ommegang yeast, and this saison is really good, man.
Thank you. I think sometimes you have like I love Unibrew. I think they make amazing beers, but they have kind of that same yeast character. So it was cool for us to make a beer that incorporated the Ommegang yeast character, but also kind of spoke to both breweries' kind of house Belgian yeast. We talked about like doing a mixed fermentation, but then we decided it'd probably be like yeast. If you pitch multiple yeasts, they tend to want to fight. Mm-hmm. And all the Boulevard guys were like, "Oh, we're gonna take you guys out," and the Ommegang guys thought, "Oh, the Ommegang's yeast gonna take it out," it was kind of a fun conversation around a table. But we decided to do separate fermentations and then blend so that you could kind of showcase both strains. Is what the idea was.
Well done.
Is your Dark Truth year-round or a seasonal?
Well, that's a year-round beer. It's year-round in 12-ounce bottles and 4-packs.
Yeah, it's amazing beer. Another amazing beer.
That's fermented with our Belgian strain as well. It's kind of unique to have a Belgian Imperial Stout.
All right, we want to talk a little bit about some of the news from the week. Well, actually, before we get into the news from the week, I want to shift gears here and talk about the Craft Beverage Jobs.com. The job of the week is a quick job here. Doesn't need much description, but Carl Strauss Brewing in San Diego, California is hiring a brewer. So the brewer performs all aspects of beer production from the beginning to the end at the main brewery. This includes brewing, cellaring operations, filtration, cleaning, and sanitation of maintenance and plant equipment. So if you live in the San Diego area or want to, I think maybe I'll wait for the drought to pass, but San Diego is a pretty nice place to live. There's an opportunity to get a job at Carl Strauss.
Well, two things, Matt. I'm pretty sure every home brewer in America is probably going to apply for this job. Or every home brewer who can move is probably going to apply for this job. And secondly, I don't know, San Diego's about to instill like this $1 billion desalination plant. So they're going to be, you're going to be soon drinking beer from San Diego that's brewed with Pacific Ocean water that's been desalinated. And
I wonder if they could make a Goza out there using salinated water.
That's
something play off of that. So. All right, well that is Craft 8. That's the craft beer job. We do want to go back and talk a little bit about a magazine here that some of our folks in the Craft Beer Nation are friends with. Corey Page, and she is she used to do this podcast under my host, and she'd interview interesting people, including Jeremy Danner here a couple of times. And I think she's taking a break from that right now to kind of launch this magazine. She's got a craft magazine. It's an online magazine, and I'm impressed by the amount of content they put out. It looks like it's quarterly or seasonally, I guess, but it's the spring issue is out. Lots of cool stuff, interviews with artists and interviews with brewers, and they talk about other craft beverages as well and other things other than beer. But the quality of the stuff there is that
it's a high end.
Yeah, it is. It's well produced. So check that out. What did you guys think of it? We all kind of passed the links around and looked at it today.
Yeah, I thought it was very luxurious looking, like really nice well made, not that newspaper-looking magazine. It was pretty nice.
Yeah, like Gil said, high end. You can tell they put a lot of work into that magazine. So this is definitely one worth going to check out. Or if you have Flipboard, definitely try to see if you can get the craft magazine on your Flipboard account.
I kind of felt when I looked at it, it seems like so many online digital magazines are really just taking blog posts and jamming them together. But when you read the articles and stuff there, I felt it was they took more care in their writing, and things were better edited and better produced there than just 156 pages of blogs all slapped together.
Hey, it's editorial writing. It's just not, as I said, a bunch of info put it in a filling out pages. Yeah.
Yeah, and I personally like the one article was like a Q&A kind of discussion. So for me, that's how my mind works. That's how I can understand discussions more than I can artistic renditions of discussions. So anyway, that was all we wanted to talk about there. Unless anybody else had anything on it.
Nope. Good.
All right. The other news from the headlines, really, I don't think anybody who has read the things in the background will be surprised to know that Dick Cantwell left Elysian/Anheuser-Busch this week. Randy, what did you find there in that Washington Beer Blog article?
I mean, I think that all about sums it up. I mean, it should really be no surprise to anyone, because when Elysian got bought by Anheuser-Busch, it was clear that Dick was one of the people who was totally not in favor of the sale. And from the article, I wanted to read a quote from Dick, and it's a little lengthy, so bear with me. He said, "Just wanted to let you know about half an hour ago I resigned from Anheuser-Busch. The tenor of the deal, mainly from the point of view of my former partners and me, was such that I can't possibly work with them into the future of any duration. My concerns were never even considered as a factor of whether we should or shouldn't. From the start, it was me against everyone else, with no regrets expressed. Enough about that." And he goes on and said, I'm a craft brewer, past, present, and future, no matter what I end up doing. Naturally, I'm not one to whine about the definition, about being on the wrong side of it, etc. I've helped craft that thing while I was on the BA board, and while I have my own personal reservations about some aspects, I think it's important to recognize some differences in realms of the market. So I mean, that first of all, I really do applaud Dick from the standpoint of, this is a guy who sticks to what he believes. I mean, we don't like the fact that Anheuser-Busch bought Elysian, but the fact that they did, Dick stood to make a ton of money. I mean, maybe he did, but he could have made a lot more money by remaining with these guys. But he refused to deviate from what he stands for as a craft brewer. And I think that has to be something that's respectable in the industry, because I mean, we're not just passionate about drinking craft beer, but we're passionate about what craft beer actually stands for, about what it represents. Now, I mean, when I drink this beer, and I think I speak for everyone here on this panel and everyone in the craft beer nation for that matter, but when we drink this beer, we're not just enjoying this beer. Jeremy, in your case, we're thinking about the fact that you put a lot of effort into the beer that we're drinking. You know what I'm saying? This wasn't just something that you thought of on the fly. You put effort in this and you put passion in this, and we can't help but to consider that when we drink this beer. Anheuser-Busch put out that commercial in the Super Bowl saying our beer is meant to be drank and not dissected. Well, we feel like we need to dissect it, because we need to discover all the elements that you intended for us to discover in this beer. And for that reason, we respect the for what it is and for what went into it. And if you feel like that, if you feel that same passion about craft beer, you can't help but to respect Dick Cantwell for what he did in resigning, because of what he feels like he stands for as it relates to craft beer, not compromising who he is and what craft beer means to him.
Well, and I think we're not here to argue about the point if it's a good or bad being in Anheuser-Busch. It's more like for him to take a stand. I remember he made a post or a tweet, something a week later after he got a lot of hate, and he said, "I can't comment on the topic. I can only say that I was outvoted on the decision."
Mm-hmm.
right about a week after. So we knew that he wasn't happy about it.
Well, I guess I'm looking forward to a guy with that much class, talent, and and respect.
I know what you're gonna say, Matt.
I'm looking forward to where he's going to land.
Exactly.
What's his next thing going to be? He's going to launch another brewery. He's going to go, do something. So it'll be fun to watch.
With craft beverage jobs information.
Yeah, maybe they're hiring a brewer down at Carl Strauss.
We can get a little something out of it.
Right.
There's some work there.
Tell him we got a job waiting for him at Carl Strauss Brewing.
Yeah. I mean, they'd probably want to see some references, but.
Or you can send them some beer.
Yeah. Everybody needs a kick.
We'll tell him we need to see some references so he can send us some beer.
So yeah, but that's it really wasn't a shocking headline. What was shocking is sometimes the opportunity to throw some mud on your way out the door, it always exists, and he didn't do it. So that came off as classy in my book. So
absolute class.
And we all hope, despite with what we think, that Elysian keep doing great beer, for the good of
Wow.
beer.
Yeah, I don't think the quality of beer at Goose Island has gone down. With regards to their
couple
special barrel aging
beers,
series.
Okay,
not all of
it. Yeah.
But some of their year-round stuff has really kind of gone the wrong way. But so I'm not going to buy any of it anyway, just for the mere reason of who's getting the money from it. But Randy, in your little chat there, you'd mentioned the Super Bowl ad, and one of our beer releases here at the top of the list is Bell's in Kalamazoo, Michigan, brewed and bottled a pumpkin peach ale. Brewed the easy way. So I thought, well, it's actually April 16th, not April 1st, so I wasn't really sure what to make of it. And then Gil informed us that it's only a 48-bottle run. It is a great big screw you to Anheuser-Busch, and they're going to sell those money and give the revenue from it to Kalamazoo River Valley Trail.
All of it, yeah.
All of it. So if you would like a pumpkin peach ale, there's a couple of bottles of it out there from Bell's. So kudos from them to take the high road and make a make a nonprofit a few bucks out of it. High Wire in Asheville, North Carolina has got Man Eater Imperial IPA coming out here tomorrow. That's a Citra and Amarillo IPA, 8.3% ABV. It sounds like a pretty good beer.
Yes.
New Belgium and Fort Collins has got Skinny Dip Blonde Ale at 4.2% ABV. That's coming out last week. Breckenridge, it's got, I love this, comic book folks and nerds alike. They do a Comic-Con beer every year, and this year they're doing Hulk's Mash Pale Ale instead of Hulk's Mash. Hulk's Smash, if you say it fast together and you're an Incredible Hulk fan, you'll get it. But that comes out that came out March 1st. It must be May 1st. I think the con.
They did the Bruce Wayne last year, which was cool too.
Yeah, they did Bruce Wayne. Yeah. Fegley's Brew Works in Allentown, Pennsylvania, has got the Bethlehem 17th Anniversary Ale coming out today. I have not heard of that brewery, but apparently they're 17th anniversary, so they've been around for a little while. St. Arnold in Houston has got Bishop's Barrel number 9, came out yesterday. Is that the brewery that did the pumpkin bourbon barrel thing?
Yeah, it's the same series. That's just this one is without the pumpkin. So they did the same. They just changed it a little bit from the series. I think that was number 10, and they add the pumpkin to it. Yeah, or number 12, something like that.
All right. Avery, also in Boulder, in Colorado, but this time in Boulder, has got Tectum L at Elix Barrel Aged Series number 26. It comes out 19th. I don't know anything else about that beer other than the name is hard to say in Latin. Well, I guess it's not hard to say in Latin. It's hard to say in English. Great Divide, since this is apparently the Colorado show. They're in Denver. They've got the Rumble Oak Aged IPA that came out today. Saucony Creek in Kutztown, Pennsylvania, has got barrel-aged Imperial Stout out the 19th of April, coming out this weekend. What other kind of releases? What's the next thing rolling out after this Calling IPA, Jeremy?
We have a beer that we brewed last year as part of a Backroads series, kind of a experimental one-off series. We brewed a hibiscus goza that people really love, so we're going to release that again in May. That'll be in 6-packs and on draft, and then all the cans are out, and then we're going to release keg versions of all the canned beers soon as well. But it was really cool to see how many people loved the goza, and it was also kind of fun to see people who had no idea what they just put in their mouths. They're just like, what have I done to myself?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure man, even though they never had it before, I bet they loved it, because goza is one of those styles where you can't, man, it's hard not to like it, man, even if you're, I mean, it's such an appropriate summer beer.
Yeah, people say I don't like sour things, but then you say, well, do you like lemonade? And they go, I do, because everybody likes lemonade. And granted, there's a lot of sweetness there too, but it's about starting that conversation to, like, remind my dog is vigorously rubbing her face on the couch, just making sure that everything was cool. But yeah, I mean, it's about getting people used to what's happening with the sour beer.
When is the Aztec Chocolate keeping the shelves? Do you know?
Yeah. So Aztec Chocolate is going to be the next Imperial Stout X release. We took it's not barrel-aged Imperial Stout. Took it from the fermenter and transferred onto bags of Pasilla Negro, ancho chilies, and cinnamon was added in the wort kettle, and then we put some cocoa nibs in the tank as well, and gave it about 48 hours contact time to kind of play with kind of the history of the tradition of kind of the Aztec drinking chocolate. It's really nice beer. I'm pretty excited for people to try that.
When is that coming out?
June. That'll be June. It'll be only 750 milliliter bottles. There won't be any kegs of that at all.
Interesting. All right. Any other releases, guys, from the panel here that I've missed? Okay. Festival-wise, North Carolina Beer Month. We've talked about this one every week. Still going on. It's still April. So
they won't stop, Matt.
No, I think they've been drinking since for April 1st. So they're really going at it.
Nobody's alive. They're all in an alcoholic coma right now.
Send your livers to North Carolina.
Yeah, so Google that, and you'll find some events all over the state, all over the month, too. So Kansas City on Tap is coming up the 25th of April. I imagine the Boulevard will have an appearance and some presence there.
We will be there. There's also, we're kind of splitting our crew that day, so there's that festival, and then there's also the Parkville Microfest in its 12th year. So I'll be at that festival, pouring some pretty fancy beer as well.
What was that? You said Parkville?
Yeah, Parkville is it's a smaller community just a few minutes north of Kansas City. It's a great fest down by the river. In the English, yeah. It's like Raise the Roof. You can't say it's down by the river. In a really nice park. So we're gonna have a split crew, but we'll be at both of those festivals.
All right, take a Sharpie to that one, and Jeremy will sign your shirt. And the Boston Beer Summit in Boston, Massachusetts is coming up this weekend. Craft Brewers Conference and Brew Expo is wrapping up, I think, tomorrow, right, out in Portland?
My wife is there right now. Lucky.
Yeah, she's coming home tomorrow, or is she coming home Saturday? Or
she'll come home Saturday. She sent me a picture the other night. She was at the Cascade Barrel House. So I sent her a picture of.
Did they let her drive one in? Did they let her tap one or not?
I don't know. But she sent me the picture of all this beer, so I sent her a picture of Chick-fil-A, which is where I was.
Romantic.
And she was the one who was jealous.
Yeah, it's a damn good chicken sandwich, man.
Yeah,
it's a really good chicken sandwich.
Yeah, and those cross-cut fries. Yeah, it's real. Tap in New York, Hunter Mountain, New York, that is coming up 25th and 26th. North Texas Firkin Fest, Arlington, Texas. That's actually going on now through tomorrow. Royal Oaks Beard Fest is next week at Royal Oaks, Michigan, and Community Tap Fest in Greenville, South Carolina, coming up on the 25th of April. So we've talked about the fests, we've talked about the beer, we've talked about all those other kind of things. Thanks to craftbeveragejobs.com for being our sponsor. Thanks for Jeremy Danner for joining us from Boulevard.
Here's what's making the noise.
Oh yeah, there's the dog. Yeah, just don't let it wake the kid up. I mean, keep it down, dog. Keep it quiet. So thanks for hanging out with us this week. You know what we didn't talk about festivals is Savor.
Savor.
1, 2, 3, 4 of us from this very lineup here are going to be at Savor the 5th and 6th of June in D.C. That is all sold out, so hopefully you got tickets and you'll come hang out with us. If not, we're going to do some broadcasting on Friday night. You can watch it live from the museum kind of main hall complex there, so watch craftbeernation.org for information about that. Join us at the community at Google+, where all the fun stuff kind of happens there too. So, man, there's just so much stuff going on. I don't know how this hobby of mine is kind of growing into...
If you want to meet some Craft Beer Nation celebrities, then you should really try to make it a Savor and meet these 4 illustrious celebrities.
I think by the time they kick us out of there Saturday night, nobody's going to want to really know us.
Jeremy, is there any chance that you're going to be at Savor?
I will not be at Savor this year. No, I've always gone out to do like events the week before, and then I leave Savor to the fancy people who I think you have to tuck a shirt in to go to Savor.
Yeah,
it's not something I'm willing to do.
Will you guys have a representative there?
Oh yeah. Our founder will be there.
Sponsoring brewery, yeah.
Yeah. Love our founder, and I think our brewmaster will be there. He's going to do a few salons, so that's kind of his scene, and I'd go for it, man.
Yeah.
So we can name drop.
Oh sure, yeah, he loves that. Yeah. Actually, you should talk to Stephen Powell's and tell him I sent you.
All right.
Hey, Jeremy, man.
Word.
We know Chocolate Lab. He loves goats and hates Saison DuPont. Yeah. So.
Oh, I don't hate.
Some bad info.
With that said,
hey, everybody, thanks for joining us tuning in this week. Next weekend, we're going to have next Thursday night. We have Hugh Sisson. He is the owner, founder, or something at Heavy Seas out of Baltimore, so out of Maryland. So that's next week. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Until next week, find some good friends. Find some great craft beer. Mind those P's and Q's.
This has been Pints and Quarts, brought to you by Craft Beer Nation. You can show your support for our podcast by subscribing to our content on YouTube, Stitcher, iTunes, or our website, craftbeernation.org. Thanks for listening.